excited to present our District 1 candidates. These are not all of them, just so you know. All the candidates were invited, but these are the ones that cared enough to speak to you one-on-one. So we have Mr. Frank Rivera, Mr. Robert Cromer, and Mr. Mark. So I will now pass it on to our wonderful person over here. Beryl, do you need this one? There. And if you have a question for the candidates, please come up, grab a piece of paper, and go ahead and submit them. And that way they can find out what's going on.
Thank you, Nadia. I'm Beryl Flom from the League of Women Voters of San Diego. And I want to welcome you tonight and thank the Alliance for Community Engagement for co-hosting this meeting. The League is proud to be nonpartisan, neither supporting nor opposing candidates or political parties, but always working on vital issues of concern to members and the public. We have a Voters Edge website managed by MapLight and the League of Women Voters of California Education Fund. And they offer every candidate on the ballot a free profile to present their qualifications and priorities. KPBS has just signed on to direct listeners to research their ballots at votersedge.org. There's a website, votersedge.org, or there are little bookmarks over here on the table you can pick up so you can remember that website. The League moderates candidate forums using a format that is fair and informative. We ask that the candidates keep to the issues of the position rather than personal attacks, because our goal is for voters to be able to learn more about candidates than they get from campaign ads and social media. The views expressed are those of the candidates, not of the League, not of the Alliance. And so we remind you to use civility and respect in wording your questions and frame them so that all candidates can answer. Assisting tonight are question screeners behind me, Jane Andrews and Gail Mackler, and maybe Michelle Morgan, and Nadia Keene is also helping them. Our timekeeper is Vicki Riggs, right here. And so the candidates have 2 minutes to make their opening statements and closing statements, and 1 minute to answer each question. So they are in order here. Mark Leon and Robert Cromer and Frank Rivera, in that order, will make their opening statements, and then we'll go to questions. We need your questions up here, please. So they're index cards, so you can submit them. Thank you very much. Please write out cards, and I'm going to come around and try to collect some. We're eager to have your questions.
Yeah, I think so.
You have some more cards?
Oh.
Yes, we do.
And a pen. Thank you.
We want your questions.
Raise your hand if you would like a card to ask a question.
Good evening. Thanks for coming out. My name is Mark Liuag. Let me start out with the first part, Liuag. Think of the U as a W. It's Filipino. My grandfather was from the Philippines in the Navies, and my grandfather and my great-grandfather on my mom's side also were in the Navy, came from the Philippines. My grandmother, my one grandmother was from Puerto Rico, my great-grandmother was from Greece. Our family's been in San Diego since 1935. Obviously I was born here. We came to Chula Vista in 1969. Been in Eastlake since 1997. I'm a product of Chula Vista, a Kellogg kid, Hilltop High School, Southwestern College, San Diego State, where I graduated with a degree in business finance. I've been married now for 33 years. I got 2 daughters. They both graduated from Eastlake High School. I was very proud to know that both of them were salutatorians of their class. So I have deep roots here. I've been a planning commissioner. I was appointed twice to the planning commission by two different mayors, heading up certain councils. I've served on many nonprofits, one of which is the Friends of Chula Vista Parks and Rec. As a treasurer, I've been a parent club treasurer, been a soccer coach, do we have a timer?
I am.
Okay, thank you. And I'm proud to be here. A lot of the reasons I want to run is, I've seen some things change over the last few years, and I think I can make a difference. So I look forward to your questions. Thanks.
Good evening, my name is Robert Cromer, and I've lived in Chula Vista for approximately 20 years. I've been in District 1 for over 10 years. Married to my wife for 25 years, Yvonne, and we've got two daughters, Haley and Hannah. They're both in their 20s. My oldest daughter just graduated recently with her master's and also a teaching credential. And my youngest daughter goes to Point Loma Nazarene and is studying to become a physician's assistant. My father-in-law is a retired Chula Vista police officer and also a Navy. My platform is pretty simple. I really want to make sure that we have safe communities and safe schools. I'm looking at making sure that we have a better business environment here, that any business that had issues due to the pandemic, that we help them get on their feet and thrive in 2023, that we attract new businesses to Chula Vista, that we actively go after them. This is a great community. My kids grew up here. I've been here for 20 years. I really want to get these businesses down here to see what an unbelievable community it is, so that way our tax dollars stay here in Chula Vista. I will make sure that the four-year university comes to fruition. I will also would like to see a vocational schools over on the west side of Chula Vista. Not everyone and not all of our kids are going to go to a four-year university. My daughter's boyfriend's a great example. We connected him with an electrical company, and he's studying to be an apprentice there. So I'd love to have a vocational school. And then last thing is, I'm big on sports, so I'd like to have a tournament field here in Chula Vista where other families are coming to Chula Vista instead of our kids going to play soccer and basketball, baseball, other places. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Frank Rivera, and I've lived in Chula Vista for more than 40 years, and in District 1 for more than 20 years. My wife and I and a son, we moved into the East Lake area when our house was built brand new. I'm also your neighbor in the fact that I am the vice president of the East Lake Homeowners Association, which represents 3,134 homes. Last night we approved our budget, $5 million budget, and I do have experience with city budget, city projects. I've worked for the city of Chula Vista since 1984. I started as a college intern and haven't left. So instead of retiring after 37 years of working as a civil engineer, as a licensed civil engineer and a licensed traffic engineer, I want to continue to make a difference in Chula Vista. I am an avid bicyclist. I've contributed to a lot of the bicycle infrastructure in the city, have made Chula Vista a bicycle-friendly community, and received numerous awards on many of the projects that I've worked on with colleagues that I know from Sandag and Caltrans. I'm regionally known in the civil engineering, and I've worked with all the elected officials since 1984 collaboratively, including their staff. And I want to make Chula Vista better tomorrow than it is today. And I take it one day at a time, one project, and just continue to keep making this community the envy of the South Bay, the envy of California. Thank you.
We have two candidates who are unable to come tonight. One is Caroline Chavez and the other Marco Contreras. And Marco has submitted an opening statement, which I will read. He's running for Chula Vista City Council District 1 because I've seen firsthand that the community my family and I call home is in need of a fresh and effective approach to leadership. As a devoted father and husband, safety for all families is my top priority. My vision for Chula Vista District 1 is for it to be the safest in all of San Diego County. I will fight for policies that protect the funding of our law enforcement and departments, as well as ensuring our children understand the value of law enforcement through community appreciation and respect. I am the founder and CEO of a U.S. customs brokerage, and I understand the extreme importance of hard work and sacrifice that it takes to build a thriving business. This same level of commitment is what I plan on bringing to our city council to keep Chula Vista a prosperous community. Not only promoting policies that favor our local businesses, but also having the strength and commitment to follow through with these policies and ensure that they are implemented efficiently. I'm married to my wife of 14 years, Natalie, and we are proud to raise our 2 beautiful children in Chula Vista District 1. I've always believed in serving others. I've been honored to serve as a pastor for 13 years, where I have been able to mentor hundreds of people in overcoming limiting beliefs and to find their purpose. I plan on doing the same for the beautiful people of Chula Vista. I'm running for Chula Vista City Council because I believe we are at a crossroads in our city, county, state, and nation. I believe the previous generations fought for values that champion prosperity in our communities. Currently, there are a large number of elected officials that oppose the values of a free market economy that have allowed us to be the nation with the most opportunities in the world. Having grown up in Mexico until I was 16 years old gives me the best understanding of the values of freedom and opportunities we have in our country. Because of my background in business and the lessons I've learned in growing my companies, I'm confident that I am the best choice to be in District 1 seat. I am honored and humbled by each voter I talk to when canvassing neighborhoods in the district, and I believe it's the job of each elected official to create politics that will help each person achieve their own personal American dream. Finally, I'm extremely confident that I represent the values of family, safety, protection, faith, and prosperity best in our district, and I'd be honored to serve on your Chula Vista City Council. Okay, so we have a grid for who's going first here. Frank, you're going to answer the question first. Here's the question. What is the biggest problem facing Chula Vista, and how would you address it in 1 minute?
Okay, the biggest problem is the affordability for people to live in housing. And the way I would solve this issue is you have to work with the entire process of what it takes to build a home. It takes labor, it takes material, it takes the permitting, the land use, and all of those are opportunities where I have experience in how to make that more efficient of a process. I've worked with the Building Industry Association over my career. I understand their issues, and I understand where Chula Vista needs to keep up with recent laws and keep up to date. Time costs money, and at the end of the day, every delay that's passed on to the builder is on the mortgage or on the rent. So when you think about all the steps that it takes to build anything, anywhere, it's very complicated, and I've done it from the beginning to the end. When I was in charge of the land development group, I processed over 6,000 building permits in about 2 years.
Okay,
And so, thank you.
Okay, Mark is next.
Question?
What's the biggest problem facing Chula Vista, and how would you address it?
Well, for me, I think the biggest problem facing Chula Vista, which we don't have too many, but we have one big one, is economics. We're at the bottom of sales tax collected per capita, revenues per capita, and it's been going down year after year. And And the root of that is that we don't have enough commercial business, we don't have enough good paying jobs, we don't have enough people working in Chula Vista. We've given up our land use to more and more residential in the aim of thinking we're gonna get more affordable housing. I wanna have more affordable housing by having good paying jobs so we can pay for our homes. The developers are not gonna reduce prices. They're not gonna build excess capacity. They're gonna build for what everybody can afford. So my focus is to bring in new businesses. I've been in the business community my whole career. I've worked at the C-level and worked for such large companies such as Hewlett Packard and General Dynamics, Rohr Industries. So.
Okay, thank you.
I think the biggest problem with Chula Vista is that, at least before the pandemic, we had over 70% of our workers leaving to go work at other places. So when they do that, they're taking their cars out of Chula Vista, they're eating lunch in San Diego or wherever they're commuting to. They are even potentially staying there after work to have dinner, or what I see happen a lot of times too is even on a date night is we have couples leaving Chula Vista to go to Little Italy or other parts of San Diego County. And we have to have more business opportunities here. We have to make it easier, cut the red tape, make sure the permit process is faster for businesses. And to do that, what you do is you benchmark other cities that are doing a better job. So that would, I guess my time's up. Thank you.
Okay. This is fun. All right. How are you going to recruit police and fire? I assume personnel. Robert.
Well, obviously that's the job of the chief of police and their staff, and I think they're doing an unbelievable job, to be honest with you. So the chief has hired 134 new officers since 2017 when she took over. Her and her staff have just had the largest promotion. There was 17 officers promoted in the last, just a couple weeks ago. It's a struggle right now to hire officers because you have everyone fighting for the same officers, and a lot of people don't want to be an officer right now because of the things that have taken place over the last few years. So we've got incentives in place where we're offering $20,000 to get lateral from other parts of San Diego County to come over here. We've got a great, I think they got to continue to do what they're doing because I think that they're making more progress than most cities. So I wish I had a better answer for you, but I think that the chief's doing an excellent job.
Okay, Frank.
All right. With police and fire, the police chief and the fire chief let us know what they need, and a lot in the past has been wages and benefits. Public safety is very expensive. The general fund, which is the revenue source that typically pays for public safety, in the city's budget up until about 2 years ago, it was more than 75% and approaching 80% of the city's budget, and that's why Measure A passed. That's a public safety sales tax. I helped promote that, walk precincts for it, because I know the importance of public safety. Response times have improved, the city's embracing technology, and so I'm all for giving the technology and that the public safety needs. And when you take into account that the city just celebrated their 1-year anniversary with the ambulance service, the cost of it is about $1,000 less than the private ambulance service we had before with better response times. And so it takes a willingness on the elected officials to help give police and fire what they need. Thank you.
I'll echo my fellow candidates about police and fire. We've done a really good job in Chula Vista, and we have some great incentives. One thing though I would do is the city council passed a requirement that all new employees need to be vaccinated. The city of San Diego let people go from police and fire if they weren't vaccinated. If we had lifted that, that we could have got a lot of seasoned police officers and fire to fill those voids. And we don't require our police officers to be vaccinated, the current ones, or our fire department. They can be tested, so there's other ways. So I would have lifted that and allowed a lot of good seasoned people come over here rather quickly. So police and fire is one of the most important things, and I want to echo that would be the top of my platform too.
All right, hold it there. Come down to you because you're going to get it.
Okay.
All right, here's the next question. Where do you stand with the firefighters wanting parity with police officers? If you're for it, how would you provide funding for it? Or what would you do to cut something to afford it?
Tough question. I don't know if that's the right case to be parity with the police officers. It should be very close. I'd look at the market and see where we're at, but wherever we stand with police officers in the market, we should be in the same place with the firefighters. We should do equally well for them. There's really, as Frank said, we already got 75–80% is already going to public safety. There's really not much left to cut. Our libraries, our parks and recs are devastated because we don't have enough revenue. So my view, as I said earlier, we need to improve our revenue in the city. We need to bring more businesses here. I want to take my experience in private enterprise, working for large companies, recruit them to come to Chula Vista. It's a great place to work. I ran a business in Chula Vista that had over 265 employees, and we beat out a site in Indiana and kept that business here in Chula Vista.
Robert?
To be honest, I'd have to look at the budget a little more in detail. I am all for the fire getting a raise. They went through the pandemic. They forwent their raises during that time. The police did get a raise during that time. The fire department has been there. They've done a lot of the vaccinations. We owe them. Without a doubt, we owe them. Where that pay scale is or where that hits, once again, I'm very big on benchmarking other cities. I want to see where they are and see if that's that we are putting them at the scale where they deserve to be. Frank made the comment earlier that our response times have improved over the last year. It's phenomenal that they were able to pull that off for the ambulance service. One of our best friends, his son is a firefighter, so I want to do whatever I can to make sure that we support them.
Give me a hall pass. All right. Well, the parity with the fire department, and I've been a labor negotiator for over 30 years, different unions, the engineers union, the mid-managers union, and the SEIU Local 221. So I've experience in negotiating contracts. The fire department wants parity, that's fine. What are your peers earning in the region or Southern California? And then how are we gonna pay for it? Well, a couple years ago, because the public voted for it, Measure A is a half-cent public safety sales tax, which I'm a member of the Citizens Oversight Commission, and also so is Robert Cromer. And so together we have to deal with the budget issues, but realize that a couple years ago with the Wayfair versus South Dakota case about internet sales tax, we are getting sales tax revenue that we had lost initially because of out-of-state internet sales. So we are getting the revenue. The revenue is coming in higher than what we conservatively estimated, so that's something. The other thing is the ARPA funds. Essential workers are entitled by the federal government up to $25,000.
Okay, here's the next question. What is the most pressing budget priority for Chula Vista? And Robert, why don't you start?
I think we've all mentioned this, but it really is about businesses, and we just haven't attracted the right businesses. If we just look at 5 years ago, there was not a nice hotel on the east side of the 805. We now have 3. We've got limited restaurants, a lot of fast food restaurants, but if you look at nice restaurants, we don't have a nice steak restaurant, we don't have a good opportunity or cultural type restaurants here in the city. There's 2 ways to look at a budget. You can cut things if the economics get worse, or you can raise revenue. And I really believe we've got to do that. The universe would be a huge impact to this from a housing standpoint and also from a business opportunity. Same thing with the Bayfront. I believe those are all opportunities that's going to give us more tax revenue.
Okay, Frank.
Budget priorities is to diversify, and that's, as was mentioned, we need to look at the other land uses besides residential. We had a parcel on the Olympic Parkway off of Sunbow and Brandywine that for decades is supposed to be industrial, and now it's going to be mostly residential, and that was an opportunity that did the developer try really hard to develop it as industrial or commercial? I don't know, but at the end, it got approved for housing. So we have to kind of look at all of that. Our auto dealerships, they have grown on Main Street, and so it is getting the big purchase items that'll do well in Chula Vista. The Apple Store does very well at the Otay Ranch Mall. And so those are the types of businesses that we need to bring in, and maybe anchor stores that would also help bring more sales tax to the city.
Yeah, I think we need to raise revenues. We've already cut as much as we can, unless you want to cut into public safety, and I don't think anybody wants to do that. We've actually raised taxes to do that. One of the main reasons I'm running is that our land use changes. The land adjacent to the Olympic Training Center was given up to residential and actually visitors. We did it at Otay Ranch Mall as well. They want to do it again at Otay Ranch Mall. There's another 600 units they want to put in there. More residential at the expense of commercial space. We can't keep doing that. It's hurting our ability to raise revenue and provide services. They estimated there was $450 million in lost sales every year just at the Otay Ranch Mall within 10 miles. Costco wanted to go there. We could have had 3 Costcos, the largest contributor of sales tax to the city of Chula Vista.
All right, we are totally changing topics. What would you do if the city had another anti-LGBTQ plus demonstration like the drag queen story time? Let's see. We'll do
Event, there was no need for that. I support all walks of life, all groups with no discrimination. So I think the city's position was very clear. I don't recall too much of how that had started, but when it hit the news, I was embarrassed for what had happened, because I think that people do have a choice to make if they want to have the story time, and just live and let live.
Mark?
I truly support diversity, and I think everybody has a voice and everybody should have access. And we need to reach out, and we need to be able to understand different people, from different folks. We're not all the same, and everybody has that right, and I believe that's God-given. And I would put policies in place to ensure that would happen, that we don't look at that. There was a recent issue over in Coronado, and fortunately the Coronado Council corrected the issue over there. So I'm for diversity everywhere.
So I support the LGBTQ community. I've got a lot of friends and friends' kids that are part of that community. And the only thing that I really disagree is I really don't think we should have been spending so much time from a city time and dollars with that being the forefront of what was going on in the city. We had other priorities that should have moved forward, and it pretty much encompassed several meetings at the city. How you address that or how you move that forward, I'm not sure what the answer is, but I think we need like community groups getting together to try to figure out what's the best resolution and not spending city dollars on trying to solve that.
What have you done specifically to make Chula Vista a better place? We'll start with Mark.
I'd like to think my service in the community, starting with as being a planning commissioner, starting to be as a parent. I've been a treasurer of the parent club. I've been a coach. I've been, as I mentioned earlier, I was treasurer for the Friends of Chula Vista Parks and Rec, which partners with Kaiser to get a grant to teach fourth graders how to swim, amongst other things. I was on the Growth Management Oversight Committee. I advocated for against some of these land use changes. Those are the things that I've done. I've actually also ran a business in Chula Vista, hired many people. When I first started that business, we were at 120. When I left, there was 265 well-paying jobs. So those are things I think I've done. I'd like to do more, and that's why I'm running for office. Thanks.
So I first started getting involved with Chula Vista being on the school site council at elementary level and then also at high school level for both of my daughters. And I was the fundraising chairman. My wife and I also donated 100 bookcases back when they were trying to when they first opened Heritage Elementary, and they were trying to get a program where kids could get books there at the school. So we provided 100 bookcases to match. I've been involved in fundraising. I started the charity committee here in South County for the Pacific Southwest Association of Realtors. I created a thing called the Realtor Games that raises $10,000 each year. I'm the kind of person that wants to create programs that when I die, I know I made a difference and that it's created impact to improve people's lives.
All right. I've worked, I'll start from the west and work my way east, I guess. Bayfront EIR and infrastructure, Broadway curb gutter sidewalks improvements, eliminating the power poles on the major streets in western Chula Vista, Castle Park improvements, curb gutter sidewalks, parks, 805 improvements at Bonita, East Stage, Telegraph, Olympic, Main Street, SR 125 Toll Road. I was on the project development team. The Rapid Bus 225 along East Palomar Street, Olympic Parkway improvements, Rancho del Rey, San Miguel Ranch, East Lake, Rolling Hills Ranch, all those subdivisions, Chula Vista Elementary School Safety Task Force, Chula Vista Elementary School Christmas bicycle giveaway, the trails, the parks, defend City of Chula Vista in litigations as a expert witness because of my traffic license. Establish landscape and irrigation districts generally on the east side of the city. I could go on, but I have almost 4 decades of work with the City of Chula Vista in all aspects. Thank you.
Helps to be the third person, right? A while back, there was talk of building condos on Roar Park. How will you make sure we keep our green space, such as Roar Park and the golf course? Go ahead, Frank.
All right, well, one of my duties is a floodplain manager. The municipal code does not allow building in the floodway. The golf course is a Sweetwater River. So if anybody's going to be building there, that's going to be a challenge environmentally and also constructing it. I'm opposed to any loss of open space areas, and that's one of the things that's very near and dear to me is the open space in the City of Chula Vista. The housing would need to be somewhere else where it has been zoned appropriately. When
I first heard about the city exploring the idea of leasing out land for condos. I rallied as many people I knew in the district, the folks in Bonita as well, who live in the county, who also benefit from there, to really oppose that. The golf course should be under Parks and Rec. It's run by the real estate department. The city looks at it as in terms of revenue. It should be an amenity and an event space. It should be some place that we invest in. If we were going to have a bayfront, we want a world-class golf course for them to come to. It's one of the nicest golf courses there. I've been a member of the men's club there since I was 20 years old. I play there every Saturday. The golf course is in such disrepair. I remember when the city Parks and Rec ran the golf course, or took care of the golf course, it was in much better shape. It needs investment, and we need to do it now.
I was not for the condos in Roar Park, and I am for development as long as it's zoned for housing. We have a housing crisis in California, specifically in San Diego County. If we want to make sure that we have housing for our military, for our firefighters, for our police, our teachers, even our children, we have to make sure we're providing housing in areas that are already zoned for it. And we've got to make sure that we're not just stacking up houses on houses, but we have the space available, that we have the parks available. We have some of the best parks and some of the best schools in Chula Vista. If you look at the schools in Chula Vista on the east side, especially in District 1, all of them are a 7 or higher on great schools ratings. And I believe all except for one is an 8 or higher. So I don't want to lose that. I want to make sure we have safe and good communities where there's space to have trails and walking and sports.
These guys are good. They don't even need them over here. How do you fix the contract with the public trash service and allow residents to choose trash service and avoid the misery with the strike, such as we had last winter? All right, Mark, go ahead.
Well, the contract we had in place, we could have acted sooner, and we also need to make sure that in the future our contracts, that if they do strike, we have that option immediately to go to another backup. I believe that we're large enough to have more than one contract and still command a good rate, and competition is best. And if we had more than one, we would have one to be able to shift over right away. And I think we could have done that easily up front. We don't need to put all our eggs in one basket and say, yeah, you trust that they do that. I've done that in my provisioning with vendors, with my companies that I've worked for years. And it's a tried and true proven practice in contract management, and it's the thing that we should always incorporate in any of our services that we outsource. We should also have the ability to also, in the short run too, to have city services to help pick up any slack or transition.
Robert?
I'd have to look into it more, but I don't know if I agree with having more than one trash provider because I really just don't think that it would be managed as well. And it would give us less negotiation power on trying to keep our costs down. I do acknowledge that the trash, I don't believe that the city council moved as fast as they should have. There was easy things that they could have done. First of all, we had a bad contract. For them to not to be able to stop service should have never been ability that could have taken place. They should have moved faster and called around to other cities that had the same problem. There were solutions out there. And instead of just hoping that it was going to get better, they just needed to be more proactive, had a better contract from the very beginning. And just for everybody knows, this contract was written more than most of prior to when most of the city council members were already there. But it was something that should have been addressed from the very beginning.
All contracts have a force majeure. If there's extenuating circumstances that were unanticipated, and I think what happened was this was just a difference of opinions between the city attorney and how the contract should have been held. This is a public health and safety issue, and there was no reason why a contingency plan couldn't have been in place to make sure that we didn't get to that situation that the multifamily housing got into and the commercial. And so I think that it was something that the city should have reacted a lot quicker with the plan B or the backup plan. I was out there with the Teamsters Local 542 fighting for them to get a fair contract. And so there was no excuse for that to go as long as it did. It took 1 month, but the public's going to remember when Republic's contract is up for renegotiation, and so will the city council, of how this was handled.
All right, great answers, you guys. Now we're going to do our closing statements, and we'll start with Robert.
So I'm not a city employee, and I have not held a public office in the past. In my opinion, that's a good thing. So I used to work for the Marriott Corporation. I was the youngest manager of the largest hotel in San Diego County, which was the Marriott Hotel Marina. I was in charge of the total quality management team. I had managers, their department managers that I was in charge of that were twice my age or 3 times my age and had 2 to 5 times more experience than I did. When you're trying to get people together to come to fruition to make to create projects and make improvement, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just got to get the smartest people in the room. So I've been described recently as someone that is able to get people together to move forward on a project and make it come to fruition. Any job that I've ever held, it's always been better after I left it. So if you're looking for someone that's going to bring a 4-year university to Chula Vista, vote for Cromer. If you're looking for someone that's going to provide safe schools and communities, vote for Cromer. If you're going to look for someone that is going to try to bring a vocational school to Chula Vista, vote for Cromer. If you want to vote for someone that is going to listen to the citizens and make things happen, vote for me. Thank you.
Okay,
All right, well, I guess for me, I can hit the ground running. I've been with the city since 1984. I've had to deal with all the issues that have come through the city of Chula Vista. I've been given the most difficult projects to deal with and have always completed them successfully. A lot of it has been in the land development and the transportation side, and now I want to do it on the policy side. My website, riveraforchulavista.org, has my campaign information on it, but I can hit the ground running. I know what the city needs and how to get it done. Thank you.
Well, I have strong roots here. My mom worked for the city of Chula Vista Elementary School District. My dad, he worked with Frank as a city planner for the city of Chula Vista. Started in '67, retired in '97. I've seen the city grow. I understand its history, my own experience, and what I want to advocate for is bringing businesses. I've worked in aerospace. I've worked in land-based gas turbines. I've worked in biotech. I've worked in IT. I've started my career out of high school working as a carpenter. Worked my way through school. It took me 6 years to get through school working as a carpenter. So I worked in the building trades. So I've worked at C-level. I was the general manager, vice president of a division, started a new division in Texas, moved many companies. I know how to talk to the people and understand what they want from a site and why they want to locate in Chula Vista. I mentioned to you before that when I was running the site here in Chula Vista, we were bought out, and our company that bought us said, "Hey, we don't want 2 sites, so it's either you in Chula Vista or you guys over in Indiana." I won that battle. The Indiana plant moved into Chula Vista, so we can be competitive in Chula Vista, and we can bring big businesses here. And so that's why I'm running, and I'd love to have your vote. And thank you.
Well, I want to thank you, candidates. I think maybe the answer is to expand the size of the council so you can all be on it. Very qualified people here. And I want to particularly thank the audience for not only attending but submitting wonderful questions. So we are going to start soon with the same kind of thing for the candidates for mayor. So stick around, and we want you to join me in thanking the candidates here for District 1.
If I can have all the mayoral candidates, please, and pick up the seats. We will have
I'm assuming most of you stayed, so I'm not going to go through my spiel, but I'm Beryl Flock from the League of Women Voters, and we're going to ask the candidates to do a 2-minute opening statement and a 2-minute closing statement with 1 minute to answer each question. And I'm going to mix them up, and I'm going to take the microphone across the front. Okay, so they have drawn lots for opening statement order, and the first is going to be Spencer Cash.
Slava Ukraini, Heroem Slava. Glory to heroes, glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes. My name is Spencer Cash. I'm a father of 2 wonderful bilingual young ladies who fill my life with love, joy, and purpose. My children are opposites in many ways, and one example is with their Chula Vista Elementary School District educational experience. One child tested into the gifted system while the other receives assistance from an educational support team. My children have been fortunate as Chula Vista residents since 2013 to enjoy great support from CBSD and Sweetwater. For 15 years, I was married to a permanent resident and independently facilitated my spouse's legal migration to the United States. I am the middle son of 3 with 1 sister who was raised in a single-parent household in Phoenix, Arizona. Family is of exceptional importance to me. I am fortunate to share my children with 2 mothers and brothers who reside in Arizona, and a sister with her family on the island of Kauai. I can unequivocally state that I am the most experienced candidate to lead this city. There are many chameleons in the race who are trying to change into something successful. My education and history of proven success in war and peace places me in the master class of leaders at the worldwide level. I can brag about how 4-star generals and a former CIA director are my mentors, but I have chosen to demonstrate my leadership capabilities through direct action and accomplishment. Some of you have heard me speak about the war in Ukraine and how we as citizens can donate blood to help save a life. Others know that I'm hosting my 2nd Ukrainian refugee family who walked across the Tijuana border in search of a life without war and indiscriminate killing. Some are aware I'm opening a strategic air cargo corridor of medical and humanitarian supplies from USA into Kiev for distribution to the front lines and those in need. No one in this forum is aware that I am helping bring a telehealth capability to the camps for individually displaced persons in concert with former Governor of New York, George Pataki. Humanitarian is the single best word I can use to describe myself. Spending 2 years saving lives as a medevac helicopter pilot and leader during the peak of the Iraq and Afghanistan's war was part of my humanitarian credentialing. Thank you.
I think you need to stand over that.
Oh, I'm too. Okay. Thank you, Spencer. Hi, everybody. My name is Ammar Campa-Najjar. Sorry for running a little bit late. I'm always told not to remind people I'm running late, but I had a good reason. I was in West Chula Vista. I had to come over here. My name is Ammar Campa-Najjar, and I'm running for mayor of Chula Vista. I was born in East County and raised right here in Chula Vista. Grew up off of J Street on Woodlawn and Kearney. Anybody know where that is? Next to the trolley station. with my abuelito Campa, my mom Abigail Campa, my brother Kareem, who's a Navy officer now, very proud of him, and my uncle who is a priest, story for a different time. And we lived in a duplex, one half of it, 5 of us in three rooms. And when my grandfather passed away, he wrote in his will to sell the house and go move to East Lake. Here was a man at 93 years old who decided that your zip code determined your destiny. He'd seen enough, and he knew for his kids and his grandkids to have a better life, we'd have to move east, which is a very common story for many working Latino families. So I went to East Lake High School, Southwestern College, San Diego State University. I'm a product of our education system. I'm the only candidate who's lived in both the East and the West. I've lived the disparities, and I'm running to resolve those disparities. I was able to take that public education with no background, no Ivy League education, no pedigree, no wealth, to go work for President Barack Obama, to work at the U.S. Department of Labor, to work at the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and yes, run for Congress representing our county. Now I'm running for mayor to give back to this community that gave me everything. I want to make sure the next generation can live here, not have to leave here. And if we keep recycling the same career politicians, that's what's going to happen. But if we have a new vision with a new mayor, and finally get that Bayfront done, finally get that university done, and have a mayor who could bring federal resources, who could bring federal partnerships and Sacramento partnerships, and partnerships with philanthropists all across the county to actually get this done, not just give it lip services, empty words, broken promises, but a new mayor with a new vision to carry on the legacy of Mary Salas, to get things done that we haven't been able to do. And I think I'm the person for the job. As a third generation Chula Vista who's lived on both East and West, I'm here to create equity for everybody in Chula Vista. Thank you.
Okay, Rudy?
Hi, good evening. Rudy Ramirez, lifelong resident of Chula Vista, grew up in the Castle Park area. My 92-year-old parents still live in the same house that I grew up in. Started a business in Chula Vista after college here along Main Street. I was in the metal fabrication business. I was a steel contractor for 30 years. And then was elected to the city council in 2006 and served during the Great Recession with Mayor Cheryl Cox and others. A very important experience. I used to lament the fact that I had been elected during such difficult times when we had to make such difficult choices, budgetary choices. But we learned how to do more with less. We learned how to live within our means, and we learned how to prioritize city services. And as a result, although it was painful, we moved forward and we accomplished many, many things. We entitled the Bayfront development, something that had been lagging for 30 years. We actually set it on its course, brought together a diverse group of people over years to develop a plan, and finally got it passed at the Coastal Commission so it could move forward. It's languished since then. We were the ones that acquired the university land for those 400 acres that now sit idle, was acquired during those very difficult times when we had to figure out just how to do it. And so I've got the experience of making things happen, of being proactive. I can go through a list of accomplishments, but what I'd like to do is just mention that one of the most important things that we did then, and that we haven't seen lately, and I'm fearful for the future, is that we were proactive, and we moved forward proactively, moving neighborhoods' agendas forward. And so that's what I plan to do as mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Jill?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to be here tonight, and especially after hearing the presentations of the 3 District 1 candidates. It makes me excited to work with one of those 3 individuals or the others that we didn't get a chance to meet, because I see them as stable, invested, genuinely caring individuals who are at the top of their game in their careers and their profession. I see a lot of myself in them where I was when I ran for council 3 years ago. So my background is I have an engineering degree. I was a local government reporter in college. And I met my husband when I was working for IBM in Michigan. He was actually my customer. He was from Mexico City, and he moved to Texas, and then Michigan. Mexico City, then Chula Vista, then Michigan. And we fell in love, and he was having a family crisis. His mother was dying of cancer, and he proposed and asked me to come to Chula Vista to join him. That was in 1992. And I'll tell you, uprooting your whole life, your whole career, everything that you thought you were going to do, and bringing it to such a nurturing, wonderful place such as Chula Vista really was the best thing that could have happened in my life. My husband and I of 30 years have raised 2 wonderful adult children here. I volunteered for decades in the community, and I was able to restart my corporate career. My last major job was I was a regional vice president for a major internet company. I ran AT&T Western States and Data. I ran AT&T Southern California branch operations. As I stated, I worked for IBM. But then I also started every single historic home tour in Chula Vista. I was the head coach of Science Olympiad at Hilltop High and Hilltop Middle School. I was a Girl Scout co-leader. I sponsored the Quinn Murphy Scholarship Fund every single year for the past 12 years. I'm deeply invested in Chula Vista, love every single bit of it, and I'm excited to tell you more in the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. John.
I'm John McCann, and I respectfully ask for your support for Chula Vista Mayor. I'm a Navy and Iraq War veteran. I've served 4 terms as a council member in the city of Chula Vista and unanimously voted to be the deputy mayor 4 times under 3 different mayors. I have been a successful business owner for over 30 years. Under my leadership, Chula Vista has become one of the top 10 safest cities, over 200,000 people in the United States. And that's why the Chula Vista Police Officers Association have endorsed me for mayor. As mayor, I want to get back to common sense, making public safety a priority, maintaining roads and filling potholes, supporting small business, and protecting our taxpayers, because I oppose the mileage tax. When you look at this community center in Monte Valle Park, how many people like this? Well, I was on the planning commission, and then I was on the city council, and we were able to make sure that we listened to the community and made sure that we would have a rec center and a landmark park like this. And if you go, when you leave tonight, if you look at the plaque, my name is on that plaque, because I believe in this community and I have been fully invested for over almost 40 years in this community. But my biggest reason why you should help me become mayor and support me for mayor is that I care and love about the people in Chula Vista. Whether it's Mrs. Lopez, who needed tree trimming, whether it's Mrs. Cervantes, who needed to get permitting for an ADU to have her elderly grandmother with her at her own house, or Mr. Garcia, who opened the Crumble Cookies down by the Vaughn's Center. Please go there. Again, I'm John McCann. I respectfully ask for your vote and support for Chula Vista Mayor.
Good evening, and thank you to the League for having this forum, this important forum. I'm Zaneta Encarnacion, and I am running for mayor. I moved to Chula Vista in 2004, and from the day I moved to Chula Vista was the day I became involved, because I actually started working for the executive branch of the mayor and council at that time. And I was able to really understand this community, the needs on every single neighborhood. And since then, 20 years, I've stayed actively involved in this community through philanthropy, the Chula Vista Foundation, where we just celebrated $850,000 in the community endowment for Chula Vista causes, been involved in Chula Vista Rotary, raised scholarship funds for students, but even more importantly is really staying professionally involved in policy and local policy, and understanding how policy is an effective tool in creating thriving communities. But policies are only good as the people who are behind the policies and the people who are being brought together to develop the policies. Chula Vista is very special to me. My husband of 23 years is in the back of this room. We have a son. I've been on the school site council, been actively involved in our elementary school district on their budget advisory committee. And Chula Vista has given our family the stability that I did not have growing up. I'm a daughter of a combat war vet from Vietnam, undiagnosed PTSD growing up. We struggled as a family. I was a homeless youth at 13 for almost 2 years, dropped out of high school. But if it wasn't for the community of people who surrounded me, I wouldn't be here with you today. Running for mayor, to be the mayor of the second largest city in the county, a high school, college graduate with a master's degree halfway through my doctorate program. That's the testament of community. And Chula Vista is a strong community. We can be stronger and we can do it together. So thank you.
All right, that's our group. That's our group. What's the biggest problem facing Chula Vista, and how would you address it? And we'll start with John.
I think the biggest challenge that the city of Chula Vista faces is crime. Again, we are now the second safest city in the San Diego County. When I left for Iraq and I was on the council in the early 2000s, we had 261 police officers. When I came back, back on the council in 2014, we were under 200 officers. I, with the police chief, have been able to get over 270 officers, and now we are one of the safest cities, over 200,000 people in the entire United States. We need to make sure that we continue to recruit officers because our police department has a 90% approval rate, but there have been, because of the pandemic, so many prisoners have been let go, and there is a lack of accountability for when people rob. We need to make sure we keep our city safe.
Okay, bring it down to Spencer.
The biggest problem facing Chula Vista today is the refugees coming across the border. I'm not sure if anybody's aware, but there's 300 or so coming across the border. There's a 3-day stack up in Tijuana of refugees that are waiting to come in. I've taken in a family, and I've also gotten them news coverage and started a charity for them. This individual, the father, Sergey, is going to be appointed to my charity and help other families transition through Chula Vista. Our city is a hotbed for this crisis. It's the first real stop for these refugees in their travels. And the family that I'm hosting started their travels on May 5th, and they showed up at my door at midnight on last Wednesday. That's the real crisis. What'll happen, what we have to look forward to is the Fed interest rates, and we'll talk in June about what develops with that crisis as well. Thank you.
Okay. Zaneta?
The number one issue that faces Chula Vista is really the economy, economic recovery, post-pandemic, and also economic development. We are a growing community of people, and a lot of us leave the city and bring our tax revenue with us. But what's happening is our city's revenue pie is not growing in proportion to our community. And what that means is we're always having these conversations and arguments about, do we invest in public safety versus community services? And we're the second largest city in the county. We need to start building and growing our revenue pie, and that is going to happen by bringing strong, high-paying jobs to the community, ensuring that our workers have places to work in the community, and our businesses have a customer base that's actually in the community and not taking their tax dollars elsewhere. So the important issue is economic recovery and development. Thank you.
Jill?
Thank you. Well, we averted a big iceberg not too long ago. We had the biggest problem in the city of Chula Vista that no one ever heard of, and that was $350 million of unfunded pension liability. And thanks to our wonderful, amazing Chula Vista employees, most of whom took a 0% salary increase, the hard work of our finance department, and the willingness of the council to tighten our belts, make some really, really tough decisions, we went to Wall Street and we refinanced $350 million from 7% down to 2.54% net, the lowest interest rate ever given to any other municipality for something like that. We saved $116 million, and none of you are probably even aware. A mayor needs to think 10 steps ahead about what issues are being caused by today's economics. We're facing inflation, we're facing high gas prices. All of these factors are impacting not only the city's budget, but Chula Vista's budget throughout the city. So,
Rudy?
It's a difficult question because it's almost like, okay, what's your favorite movie, you know, or what's your favorite song? But I've got to say, if I had to think about the most fundamental issue that Chula Vista has, it's probably our jobs-housing balance. Because of that imbalance, because we're mostly a housing community, we're facing a lot of the problems that you just heard mentioned by some of the other panelists here, some of the other candidates. So we need to be able to address the jobs housing balance. We need to be able to bring economic activity to Chula Vista in order to be able to pay for many of those services that we want, whether it's going to be public safety or other public services, some of the softer services that cities provide, or street maintenance. And so we need to be able to address that. We have some opportunities. We have the opportunity on our bayfront, not just that particular project, but how it will affect Western Chula Vista. We have an opportunity with our university site, an innovation district. And so we need to be able to capitalize on the opportunities that we have.
Thank you. Ammar?
You know, Chula Vista is 1/5 the size of San Diego City, and yet they have 10 times the budget to manage their city than we do. And part of that is because we give our money to San Diego when we commute and work there, right? So we have this massive drainage of sales tax every single year. And the net result of that is that we have less funding as a city to take on services that we need, like equal pay for our firefighters, or 40 more police officers, or dealing with homelessness, or building more housing, or making sure that we take care of our communities. What we need to do is make sure that we invest in our communities by fixing that housing job imbalance. But the way we're going to do it, the only way that you could fund the city and invest in communities is 3 things. 1, you cut services from something else, which we don't want to do. 2, we raise the sales tax again, which who here wants that? Not me. Not even the firefighters. They said we have to grow the economy. And I'm the only candidate here who's been endorsed by firefighters because they know that my agenda will actually grow the economy. So the 3rd thing we need to do is grow the economy and get federal grants to our city. We just had tax season. The city of Chula Vista, all of us pay more federal taxes than we get in services every year. We need a mayor who will bring our resources back to Chula Vista and invest in our communities, not raise our taxes, cut our taxes, and get our dollars back from Washington.
Thank you very much. The next question is, you turn that thing off every time. How will you bring more commercial business into Chula Vista, and are there city regulations that need to be repealed to do it? And I'll start with Spencer.
Great question, thank you. I'll tell you, I'm the only candidate right now that opposes getting a 4-year university, and you know what, the market has spoken. That idea was created 20 years ago and then depreciated to nothing. The city's thrown another $1 million in it to try to refresh that idea. Universities do not create people who make things, fix things, and do things. They create people who think about things. We need to create workers that can make things, fix things, and do things. So I would trade the University Innovation District to the Tech and Trade School District and bring in 50 different tech and trade schools. Folks can come get an IT certificate for 6 weeks, or they can do a 2-year course. Additionally, I'd have housing available for student housing, whether it be 6 weeks or 2 years. A pipeline for homeless and those that are cleaned up their act and their process to get a skill set and start paying for their life and their job, or in their careers. We can become the crown jewel of the nation for a city that creates people who fix things, make things, and do things. Thank you.
Jill?
Thank you. So I voted against the rezoning of that parcel that was discussed in the previous conversation. The parcel of a beautiful tract of industrial land that abutted right to our landfill. At the top of that parcel, you had a 360-degree view from the ground floor, a prime place for a corporate park. Olympic Parkway is set to become a highway. Caltrans sent the mayor and council a letter telling us so, telling us where the off-ramp was going to be, showing us what the future consequences were going to be, and 4 of my colleagues voted to rezone an industrial space which would have brought meaningful jobs to residential next to a landfill. Absolutely unacceptable. I draw the line. I work for you. I don't work for special interests. I don't work for lobbyists. I won't make side deals. I believe in helping our businesses thrive and succeed, and being firm and working for Chula Vista first in our future. Thank you.
Candidates, I just want to tell you, if you want the question repeated, I'd be glad to do that. Okay, we're on Ammar.
What was the question again?
The question is, how will you bring more commercial business into Chula Vista, and would there need to be changes in city regulations to do that?
Absolutely. Look, I think you ask anybody, we're a binational city, right? We have a lot of very wealthy Hispanic American business owners right here in Chula Vista, but they don't invest here, right? They invest up north or down south because it's very hard to start and scale a business here in Chula Vista. And it's very cumbersome, so we need to make that easier, ease the permitting process, cut the red tape, streamline the process, like I was able to do working at the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, helping Hispanic businesses start at a rate of 3 to 1, right? So we gotta get that innovation going. Look at La Jolla before UCSD, folks. It was nothing like it was today. But when UCSD came, the city exploded. That's the kind of growth and positive change that we can have with this university here in Chula Vista. And I've been in talks with the chancellor of UCSD and High Tech High and others, trying to find these multi-institutional partnerships to do that. But my biggest focus, and one of our biggest challenges, is to make sure that while we're having economic expansion, that rejuvenation doesn't slip into gentrification. What makes Chula Vista unique is our small Hispanic business owners, our diverse business owners, and we can't have commercialization happening at the expense of small businesses.
Thank you. Zaneta?
So yes, we need to make bringing businesses to Chula Vista a priority, and yes, regulation changes need to occur to do that. We talked about the permitting process. I had a listening session at the very beginning of this campaign, and when you have business ambassadors from the business community sharing that when their friends ask if they should come and bring their business to Chula Vista, our business owners are telling them no because it's too difficult. To open a business, to expand a business, to grow a business here. That's problematic. And so yes, we need to look at how can we streamline, how can we modernize our processes and procedures for businesses. We also need to make sure that we're modeling as a city, who are we doing business with? Are we doing businesses with our local businesses? We can lead the way in modeling our values that put our local businesses first, and we can certainly modernize and streamline a lot of the processes that keep businesses away.
Thank you. John?
I grew up in the high-tech industry in Sorrento Valley. Every time my company would grow, I would show the executives why we should move to Chula Vista. That's why I helped plan and approve the Innovation District at Millennium. The reality is we have the employees here, but we need that additional or initial adopter. I actually have real results. On the 805, East 805, there were no hotels. And every time we talked to Marriott, Hilton, they would say, well, we don't know if the market's proven. I was able to convince Marriott to open a Residence Inn. Once we opened the Residence Inn, it became the top grossing hotel on the Western United States. And the Marriott then came to me and said, why didn't you get me there sooner? Now you've seen that we've opened up the Ayers Hotel, Hampton Inn, Homewood Suites. We need to get an early adopter into Millennia, and we will be able to have our employees and employers come.
Rudy?
So how is it that we're going to bring business to Chula Vista? I think one of the most fundamental things is that we need to capture that space. It's along the lines of what Jill was mentioning. When some of this land is dedicated for commercial uses gets turned into residential uses, we lose an opportunity to bring businesses to Chula Vista. On April 9th, I saw you might have seen it in the Union Tribune, Neurocrine leases new headquarters site. Life sciences firm signs for 535,000 square foot campus in Carmel Valley as demand for lab space stays hot. The same biosciences has leased 535 square feet for a new headquarters campus in Del Mar, highlighting the continued demand for hard to come by lab space. It comes on the heels of Bristol Myers community in University City. We have a university village that we need to populate, and these are the sorts of opportunities that we need to be chasing.
Thanks,
Turn it off.
Here's the next question. What specific policies would you endorse to increase affordable housing, and how would you address the homelessness crisis? 1 minute. We'll start with Zaneta.
That's a big order for 1 minute. In terms of affordable housing, I think we can look at our inclusionary housing policy, which we do have in place. We can also put in incentives for developers to make sure that they are prioritizing affordable housing in all locations of the city. I do believe that folks should have the opportunity to live anywhere they want, and so affordable housing shouldn't be clustered in one particular area. I think we can work with our developers to do that. I can tell you, talking to for-market rate developers, affordable housing developers in the community, nobody thinks this problem is, this issue is working for us, and everybody has ideas on how we can fix it. And what that tells me as an organizer is there's a solution out there. And that's why I always talk about policy being good when it's driven by the people who are affected by it. Homelessness is certainly something that's very close to my heart. I think the city's doing a good job with their pallet shelter. I think we need to expand it. I think services need to make sure that we're not disrupting support systems that are already in place with the homeless. Thank you.
Thank you. Rudy?
Okay, housing crisis and homelessness in 1 minute. Chula Vista is going to have to, and it's on its path to urbanizing, along its commercial corridors where we can bring density. The key is really, the difficult part and the important part is working with existing communities to make sure that they're going to be protected as we begin to urbanize and create these opportunities for affordable housing. On the homeless front, I disagree with Zaneta on this. I think the city of Chula Vista has done a horrible job. It's alienated nonprofits. I mean, two that come to mind is Community Through Hope, the Lucky Duck Foundation. They won't even work with Chula Vista anymore, providing services. At the same time, the city of Chula Vista does nothing really to address the issue. There's a homeless camp, a destroyer camp in western Chula Vista, where it's not just poor people living in squalor. It's there's prostitution, there's drug dealing, drug manufacturing, and these issues need to be addressed. And the city of Chula Vista has neglected that.
Yep.
Thank you. So first of all, I support affordable for purchase housing because the owning of your home is the single biggest contributor to wealth generation and stability in a family. But in terms of our homeless, I think we've done an outstanding job. It's just taken a little while to get started because of some entitlement issues. We are building 66 pallet units adjacent to the Otay River bottom that Rudy was mentioning to house 138 homeless individuals that are currently living there, homeless individuals that are currently working for Work for Hope, abating graffiti, painting our restrooms in our parks, helping our city clean up trash. These folks will get keys to temporary shelters that will just basically have climate control and beds and locks, and they will have they will work in unison in cooperation in multi-purpose facilities on their premises to clean their bathrooms and showers and kitchens, and they'll transition to housing when they stabilize their lives. So I think this is a great first step, and we're going to be the envy of the region. Thank you.
Thanks. Ammar?
Yeah, so we have a housing problem and we're a bedroom community, which makes you wonder, what are we doing to fix that, right? And there's only 3 ways to fix this. Inventory, rent control, which will drive out investors, so I don't support rent control, or increasing the buying power of people who are trying to afford the market value of a home, meaning bringing good paying jobs. Right? These are the 3 ways to do it. There's no other way to do it. So inventory, what do? Take those 2 apartment complexes, turn them into mid-risers and high-risers. Those abandoned parking lots, the MTS parking lots that no one uses, turn that into housing. Make it easier to do ADUs. Those are the kinds of things that we can do, right? Get a big investor in this city to be able to do that. When it comes to housing, you have to have an all-the-community approach. I'll give you a quick story. I worked at the U.S. Department of Labor. There's a homeless man who lived down my street. I got him a good-paying job. He was still homeless 2 weeks later because he needed mental health services, he needed housing, and he needed counseling. Long story short, he was able to get plugged in through my church that had gotten a federal grant to create homes, and they gave him mental health services, they gave him a job, and they gave him wraparound services. It's going to take all of us to deal with the homelessness issue.
So, to touch back on the Tech and Trade School District, the problem with the homeless, some of the folks have talked about, is a pipeline for prosperity. I mean, we don't want to reduce property value to lower the cost of entry for those folks. Everybody's pretty happy with the value of their properties. But what we need to do is create a pipeline for those to achieve the same standard of living that we have. Do you know that an electrician and a plumber makes more money than a college graduate does in the beginning of their career? And they're able to sustain themselves and sustain their family throughout a longer time. They have less debt starting out. These are all things that our residents are facing and our students are facing. And so with the charities, I believe that they're the best to lead the effort on the front. I've sat with the executive director of Community Hope and pledged that I will rebuild that relationship once I'm the mayor. Thank you.
I'm sorry, John.
Almost forgot me here. I grew up in Chula Vista. My mom was a single mom, and she worked at the Roar Industries factory. She and so many of the other working folks could afford a house in Chula Vista. Now we are having an issue with home ownership affordability, and I support home ownership. The reality is I have 4 kids. My oldest son is doing a great job, has a very, very good opportunities, but he can't afford a $700,000 first-time homebuyer's house. And what I've done is I've actually approved and increased the supply of home ownership by approving 172 new home ownership opportunities in the 300,000s. Thank you.
Reserve the phone. Okay. What have you done already to make Chula Vista a better place? Ammar?
This is going to turn into like a resume rating, but I'll give you an anecdote. So I grew up in Chula Vista, as I said. My first job was as a janitor at Eastlake Community Church. And I went from being a janitor, and I was very detail-oriented, like kind of using toothbrushes to kind of clean the crevices. And my pastor said, hey, you aren't just clocking in, you actually like this job. So I'm going to have you lead the worship team for the youth. And that turned into giving youth sermons at Eastlake Church for the youth. And I was a youth myself. I started working there as a 16-year-old. And even though as a young kid, they wanted me to be a leader. And with that leadership, they said, go mentor those young kids who are dealing with domestic abuse or suicide or those kinds of things. And I am proud that there are young people who are alive today doing great things in our community because of those conversations, because my pastor took a chance on me, I took a chance on those kids, and I am who I am today because of those investments in my life. And I'm asking you to take a chance on me to make this city even greater than it is already.
Thanks, John.
Again, I grew up in Chula Vista. My mom worked at Roar Industries. As a single mom, she raised me. When my friends would start becoming successful, what would they do? They would leave the city of Chula Vista. And one of the greatest things that I've ever done is to get on the Planning Commission and then on the City of Chula Vista Council and make sure that we did proper planning. So many developers outside the city would go, oh, it's just Chula Vista, just give them the mediocre or bad housing. I said no. We were able to design and approve Eastlake, which for 10 years in a row, 10 years in a row was considered the best new home community in San Diego County. Those are real results, and most of you live in the area because we were able to make Chula Vista a better place.
Excuse me, I'm not going to go through my resume. I'm the only candidate that's posted one. It's at my website, spencercashforchulavista.com. It only lasts my last 10 years. It doesn't have any of my war or combat stuff. It's actually been 20 or so since John's been to war, because it's been 12 since I've been to war, except for when I went to Poland and as a war zone and brought 1,800 tourniquets there 2 weeks ago. But what I want to talk about is that what have I done for the city? Well, I've only received $10 in donations, and that's not from my family. Now, my family's given whatever, less than $360 each. But with that $10, I was coming home one day, and I saw a young lady broke down on the side of the road, and she was coming back from LA, and she was trying to get to her parents' house in Sunbow. So I put 2 gallons of gas in her car, and that's what I've done to help support those in the city. Thank you.
Rudy?
So, as I was saying earlier, I started as sort of an activist for small businesses down along Main Street. And as a city councilman and commissioner, I was on the Board of Ethics and International Friendship, plus countless other boards and commissions. Did a lot. But I'd like to highlight one thing, one project that we started very early on. I was here, fresh out of college. There was a young boy in our neighborhood, a little Mexican boy, who had leukemia and needed a bone marrow transplant, or may have needed a bone marrow transplant. And the problem at the time was that not too many Latinos were signing up and registering with the blood bank. And so we started a program, just a group of friends and residents, local people. We went and we spoke at all the Spanish language churches that we could find that would allow us to speak, and we held meetings there where we had the blood bank register Latinos because it's easier to find a match within your own ethnic group. So it was important that we do that. That was just the beginning, fresh out of college.
Great, thank you, Jill.
Thank you. I'm excited for this question because it's the exact reason why I'm asking for a promotion to mayor. As council member for Northwest Chula Vista, I've delivered. We brought in $9.2 million from the state in grants, money that would have not come in had I not been in this position. We're going to renovate Eucalyptus Park. It's going to be amazing. And we're going to build a brand new Petty Davis Park. We've touched every single park in Northwest Chula Vista and improved it and made it better for the people of Chula Vista. Northwest Chula Vista 3 years ago was covered in graffiti, top to bottom. It is now beautiful and looking great. Third Avenue Village has brought in a new association to run it, and it's thriving. But the most important thing that I was able to accomplish was to bring in $2 million in grants to start a free door-to-door electric shuttle service for all seniors 55 and older in Northwest Chula Vista. Think about that. Free door-to-door. It's like a free Uber. It's called Chula Vista Community Shuttle. It starts next month, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you're 55 and older in Northwest Chula Vista, a car will pick you up at your home, take you anywhere you want to go for free. Watch for it next month. Thank you.
All right, where are we at?
Hello, it's me. That's okay. There's a lot of us up here. So when I worked for the mayor and council, I'm very proud that we passed the ordinance. I brought the ordinance to ban smoking on outdoor dining areas, and then the whole county followed, and we're all healthier for it. The Big Beautified Chula Vista cleanup was something that was created by me. We had 800 volunteers. Now it's still ongoing to this day. I've brought in four-year university degree programs here to Chula Vista. That's one of the things I work at Southwestern College. We have a partnership, and many don't know, with San Diego State, who are offering four-year degrees right here in Chula Vista. And we're growing those partnerships. We're going to be building a university center on our campus. I've had thousands of hours of volunteer time in Rotary, in Chula Vista Foundation, raising money, advocating for causes. My master's thesis was policy recommendations for family-friendly policies in Chula Vista that was submitted to the Child Care Commission at that time. I've been really honored and privileged to be able to work in a city and work for a city and volunteer to give the last 20 years of my life to this community, and that's why I'm running for mayor, so thank you.
This is going to be our last question. My friends behind me are buying all kinds of things, but I'm going to slow it down here. What's your strategy to control crime? And related to that is, do you think the police should have the same pay scale as the firefighters? All right, and we're going to start with Rudy.
With regards to the pay equity question, I consider that an aspirational kind of endeavor. I don't think the city of Chula Vista right now is capable. From what I've heard, there are estimates of $9 million to make that happen. And so, I mean, I'd like to see how it would happen. How would you put it together? What are you going to do? How are things going to change in order to pay for something like that? And so, you know, I think that one of the things that we need to do, my brother's a police officer with Chula Vista PD, he's a sergeant, so we're a law enforcement family. And I hear a lot about what's going on and what happens in the streets. I do ride-alongs regularly. And one of the things that we need to do is we do need to respect our police officers more. And one of the ways that we can do that is by giving them the tools to be able to do their job better. There are tools available, there's technology available that could help them, but we need to create, the political people need to be able to create the right environment so that the right balance is struck between privacy and some of the other issues with some technology. So we need to be able to work on that on their behalf. Thank you.
Mark?
Yeah, so look, I'm the only candidate here who's been endorsed by our firefighters. Everybody loves a firefighter, and there's a reason for that. They could have endorsed the 2 city council members or the former city council member, and they decided that I'm the person who has the vision to make sure that we're not pitting police against firefighters, that we make firefighters the best paid firefighters in the county, not compete with the police, and make sure that the police stay the best paid police officers in the county, which they are. And the issue with the police officers isn't not that they're not getting paid enough. They've told me it's about retention. It's about recruitment because of the climate we have against the police, right? Because of a few bad actors. And I encourage anybody who has a question about our police officers, you know how many of them are patrolling at any given moment? Only 14 in the whole entire city. A lot of them are working, doing things behind the scenes that you don't see, but only 14. They're not running around doing things that you don't know about. But what was helping is their drone technology, which I'm a convert about. I'll give you a quick story. They told me there was a guy who had a gun in his hand, and a drone flew by, and the police went over, and guess what happened? The drone saw that the guy was using it as a lighter. It was a lighter, it wasn't a gun. Imagine if they didn't have that drone technology. That's the kind of innovative spirit that our city is going to have with police officers. I don't believe in pitting police against firefighters. Better pay for our fire and our police, make them the best in the city and the county.
Thank you. John?
John McCann is the only candidate for mayor that is endorsed by the Chula Vista Police Officers Association. I have real results where we brought from under 200 officers in the city of Chula Vista to over 270 now. I actually championed the effort to get body-worn cameras, which makes it safer for our citizens and safer for our officers, because if there's an issue, we can go back and look at the video. I championed getting a new dispatch system. Does anybody remember what Windows XP is? When I got back on the council, that's what the system was at. We've upgraded it, we've used GPS, we've created the drone system, so we know where our officers are to be able to enhance citizen safety and officer safety.
So let me just state, I'm the only candidate that's a first responder. I've done that in war and peace, in different countries in the war. I know exactly what these first responders are going through. I know what the police are going through. I'm the only one that sat down with the chief of police and discussed the challenges. I sat down with the chief of fire department too and discussed the challenges. I did a 24-hour ride-along out of the fire department downtown, the busiest fire department there is. Has any other candidates done it? Does anybody understand that? No. The labor unions have chosen their candidates, and that's fine. That makes it easier for me to renegotiate the contracts. What I'm going to do is establish the federal contracting standard as a standard for the municipality to use for all contracts going forward. We don't just have one bad trash contract, we have many bad contracts. And it's not to ask you to raise your taxes so you can pay more or cut programs. It's to renegotiate what we're paying for to get the same goods and services for a lower price. Thank you.
So I spent 3 years as a volunteer with the police and the fire department on their CAS, Citizen Adversity Support Team. And we're volunteers who are on call 12 hours a month that goes out if there's any death, trauma or violence, and supports the families while the police and the fire do the work that they need to do. And I say that because I've seen firsthand what our officers and our first responders encounter. I did that for 3 years, and those calls are not fun. They give you a whole new appreciation when you're driving home. But what I will tell you is our police and our fire both are paid at the lower rung when you look at the market rate and what police officers and firefighters are paid in other agencies. That was not the case, John's right. Back in 20 years ago, our firefighters and our police were the highest paid officers and responders. So we have to get them back to be competitive. We had to also cancel a police academy at Southwestern College because we didn't have enough bodies in place. And so we do have to work on attracting more officers as well.
Okay.
Hi.
Jill, go ahead.
Thank you. The number one job of our next mayor is to keep us safe. Safe neighborhoods are everything in Chula Vista. It's everything to anyone who lives in this world of today. Safe neighborhoods includes taking ambulance transport in-house so that ambulances pick you up faster. Safe neighborhoods means we have 281 authorized police officers, but we only have 241 staffed. That's unacceptable. Safe neighborhoods means hiring the very best in the profession of firefighting, EMT, and police, not the bottom of the barrel. Hiring the very best, being the place that people want to work. Safe neighborhoods means ensuring that the potholes on H Street are filled quickly so that you don't hit one accidentally and crash into a car. Safe neighborhoods means sidewalks that are lit and crosswalks that people can see and use. Safe neighborhoods is everything to us, and it's more than anyway, that's why I'm running for mayor. I care about your safety and our safety very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Lots of questions here. We're going to start with the closing statements now. The first will be from Zaneta Encarnacion.
Thank you again to the League for hosting this, and thank you everyone for coming out. I know that many of you probably traveled in that rush hour that a lot of us talked about. So thank you for giving your time to learn about all of us here who want to lead the city. I'm incredibly proud to be here tonight. You've heard a little bit about my life journey, but really my 20 years in the community doing work. As an executive leader who has more than 10 years of executive leadership experience in the two largest public institutions in Chula Vista, which is the city of Chula Vista and Southwestern College, that is a very unique qualification to be mayor. I've worked in the policy-making side, and I've worked in the public administration side. So I know how policy is made, but I also know how sometimes there's tension when you start to implement that policy. That knowledge, when we're not a strong mayor city, having somebody who understands the nuances of policy and implementation is critical. We are going to have a new council, lots of seats opening up, a new city attorney. I would agree with, I think Ammar said it, we need fresh, new leadership, but we need experienced leadership. We need leadership who understands how local government works and how sometimes it doesn't work. And most of the time when it doesn't work, it's because the wrong people are at the table and we haven't opened it up to the folks who are most affected by that policy. So I'm happy to be here. I'm excited. This is taking kind of my community and public service to a different level. It's not anything I ever aspired, but after understanding where we're at in the life of our city, it really became more of a pressing responsibility that I felt to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And so thank you all again. Zaneta for FOR, chulavista.com. Thank you.
Thank you. John McCann.
I'm John McCann. I'm the most qualified candidate for mayor. I've been council member 4 times, been a deputy mayor 4 times under 3 different mayors. I've been a successful business owner for over 30 years. I've served in the Navy, originally as enlisted, and then went all the way up to be promoted as a commander. Under my leadership, the city of Chula Vista has become one of the top 10 safest cities in the United States, over 200,000 people. And that's why I'm the only candidate that the Chula Vista police officers have endorsed. I did help the planning and help the approval for East Lake community, and 10 years in a row, we were named the top 10, or the top community, Newcomb community in the United States. I've also been always, or frequently, elected by the South Star Reader poll as one of the top elected officials in the South County. But the thing that makes me where I love my job is I love you. I love our citizens. I grew up in Chula Vista when we were a low-class city, and my mom worked at the Aurora Industries plant. And when I can help, again, Mrs. Lopez trim her tree, Mrs. Cervantes get her ADU so she can have her elderly mom live with her, and how I can help Mr. Garcia open up Crumble Cookies down here on Vaughn's. That is what I love to do. I'm solution-oriented. Being mayor of the city of Chula Vista, you need to have the experience, and you need to have the right experience. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Jill Galvez.
Thank you. I'm Jill Galvez, and I will be your next mayor because people are voting for me because I clearly get the job done in Northwest Chula Vista. I work hard. I know what I'm doing. The mayor has appointed me to be on the most important committees that affect our everyday life. I'm in charge of Metropolitan JPA, which is our wastewater and our sewer system. I'm in charge of the Bayshore Bikeway with Sandag. I'm on the Regional Transportation Committee for Sandag. I serve day in, day out, answer every constituent call, and every single month since I've been elected, I do a thorough newsletter to educate and keep people informed in terms of what we've voted on, what's important. I bring our community together because you're important to me. And I'm confident I'm going to be your next mayor. I'm excited to work with the new District 1 rep, the new District 2 rep, the new District 3 rep should Steve Padilla be elected, and of course Andrea Cardenas, who's been on the job now for 2 years. So I'm excited. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm going to knock it out of the ballpark for all of you. I can answer any question you have, no matter what it is. Our Bayfront is on the right track. We are doing the right things to entitle our university. We are getting our fair share, finally, of things, but we need to do more. We need to make the toll road free. We need to get grade separation at the trolley again. We need to make sure that our tax dollars are well spent, because a well-run city provides public safety, provides all the wonderful things that we all expect of our city. And so I'm here to ask for your support, your vote. My website is jillgalvez.com. It would be an honor to earn your support, and I will not let you down. I will get the job done for the rest of Chula Vista, just like you've seen it been done in Northwest Chula Vista. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
I'd just like to start by thanking the League of Women Voters for hosting this event, and thank you all for showing up and coming out and trying to learn more about your candidates. I think experience is important, and although I appreciate the enthusiasm of people who've never really sat in a position, I've got to say that the thing about not having experience is that you don't know what you don't know. And so it's important to be able to navigate the very challenging job of mayor. It's an important role. It's an important leadership role. I mean, you can go and skate, and we've seen that, I think, a lot. And you've seen that, I think, from a lot of our existing political leaders. It was never more apparent than during our trash strike, where people basically sat on their hands for a month on an issue that they knew was coming. And then when they got back, they said, oh, it was a bad contract. Pass the responsibility to somebody else. And so we need the kind of leadership that's going to be able to anticipate things, anticipate that you're going to have a trash strike, and prepare contingency plans. On many of the bad development proposals, I mean, here on the east side, we had a potential psychiatric hospital that was going to come in. Luckily, it was defeated. Interestingly, got no votes from 3 council members who were up for election, and which was a very interesting dynamic. But in any case, really the work to do to make sure that those bad development decisions don't come to your neighborhood is to get ahead of it. We need a psychiatric hospital, but it doesn't need to be here. It needs to be in a more urban area. It needs to be in an area where other services, ancillary services, and that's just one example of how you need to work proactively through and exercise real leadership in order to make important things happen for Chula Vista.
Thank you, Rudy. Ammar Campa-Najjar.
Got my name right.
Oh, good.
Give it up for No applauding, I understand. So look, I'm kind of having a little bit of an out-of-body experience because we spent an hour talking about what's wrong with Chula Vista and what we could do to fix it, the broken promises of a university. I mean, your eyes glazed over when they said university, because you've heard about it for 25 years, the same thing with the Bayfront. And my question to you, if we have leaders who can't even take out your trash or balance a budget, our city manager literally told us that we're gonna have $15 million in debt in the next 10 years. So what is it? Is it that they know what they're doing or they don't know what they're doing? I mean, look at the trash that piled up a couple months ago, and you answer the question for yourself. There's a reason that I'm the only candidate running who's been endorsed by unions and business, because they know that I'll be able to negotiate differences. It's what I've done my entire life. I've had to do it. I've actually been able to do it at the highest levels. So when we have a trash problem and you have Republic on one side and the unions, guess who they're going to come to and say, hey, settle the differences. There's a reason that business and unions came behind to support me, because they know I can settle differences. It won't be easy, but there's a way to find common ground while standing your ground. And I have a track record of doing that. I'm also the only person running here who's lived on both the east and the west side, who's a 3rd generation Chula Vistan, who loves this community because I am who I am today, running for mayor. At the age of 33, I wouldn't be the youngest mayor. Steve Padilla beat me at that. But I could put the city on the right trajectory because you guys have given me the ability to go work in Washington and the Department of Labor, U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, come back and give back and bring partnerships to the city that nobody sitting here can provide. And you gave me that ability. You gave me the ability to develop relationships in Washington with members of Congress, to be able to say, hey, we need earmarks right here in our city. We need a federal grant writer to bring us resources here. That's what I can bring. If you guys want to have the same career politicians recycling the same old oldies but goodies, and empty words and broken promises about the university, the Bayfront, the trash, then be my guest. But if you want a dawning of a new day with a new mayor, and to get that new Bayfront, and to get that new university, and make sure that our kids could live here and not leave here, I'm challenging you to do something different. Elect a new mayor for a new day, and watch our city take off. And the city that we believed in will be that city that we have. Thank you.
Last but not least, Spencer Cash.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for holding this event. It's wonderful. Great opportunity to share. And for those online that are watching, also thank you for tuning in and taking the time. I would like to say that the family that I'm hosting have twin girls, and I'm looking for an orthodontist and a gastro doc to step up and donate some time. My email is on my resume on my website, spencercash4chulavista.com. But I also was told that I need to further reiterate that I've been a registered independent since I was 18 years old. I'm not beholden to one party or another, and I am not beholden to any of my endorsements that will sway what the next mayor will be doing in the future with the city. I've lived in 12 cities all around the world, and I've gotten to see all of these cities run in different ways and their strengths and weaknesses. I think that's a great skill set to have as mayor. I appreciate those that have stayed here and lived their time here and grown roots. I haven't had that opportunity because I was serving the nation in war. Now this is my city, this is my forever home, and I'm running for mayor because I see there's a lot of problems. I've sat down with the finance director as well. I understand the finances of the city, I understand the challenges. I've run $30 million budgets for the US government. I also have a master's degree in Homeland Security. That is a master's degree in running cities and even more stuff. I'm the only one that has it. I've got the endorsement by the director of the San Diego State Homeland Security Program. There's not a single other candidate that can stand or hold a candle next to me in my experience. And I ask that you look at my website, spencercash4chulavista.com, check my resume out, see if anybody else posts a resume, and email me. My email is up there if you want to talk more. Thank you.
Well, I just want to thank you all again for coming. I want to thank the candidates. And I want to remind you that what was said tonight and asked tonight came from you and the candidates, not from the League of Women Voters. So be sure you're all registered. Be sure you vote. Everybody's going to get a ballot by mail. The primary is June 7th, so it's coming up. And be sure to learn more about votersedge.org. Did you have a question back there?
No question. Just say thank you very much to the League of Women Voters to allow us to reach closer to our future tenants, the future mayors of Chula Vista, to get the one-on-one feeling. So I thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Don't forget to get flyers, signs. If you really liked a candidate, grab their sign. Show your love with a sign on